This is part 3 on lynching. You can see parts 1 and part 2. I'll link them in the description. Or you can just visit my channel because it's a new channel and I'm going to be doing more of these videos and I hope you like them. But back to lynching. So what inspired this channel, what inspired this series on lynching was that Trey Reed, age 21, from Grenada, Mississippi, was found hanging from a tree at Delta State University. His body bruised and his legs broken. It's still being investigated right now, but it was initially brought forward as a suicide. And history shows us that simply isn't the truth. Part 1 of lynching covered what it is. Part 2 covered the patterns and the golden age. And here we are at part 3. And what we're going to talk about in part 3 is how did Black people, how did victims of lynching, their families rather, fight back? How did communities stand tall? Because it wasn't just this person getting lynched and that was it. Of course, we had to fight back. So the golden age of lynching, as I told you about in part 2, started in the 1880s and went all the way to the 1930s. But there were other episodes of lynching, particularly after Black people tried to stand up for themselves, or we had our communities, or if we just opened a business, or if there was a case. And we talked about what a case was. It was usually an accusation by a white person, usually without evidence or with evidence that was twisted. And so how did we fight back as a community? One thing we did was we started an awareness of actually what was going on and what was happening. We wrote books. We were journalists. Probably the most famous person you'll know about who fought back against lynching is Ida B. Wells. She wrote about the Southern horrors of lynching and those things that happen when lynching happens in a local community. She was inspired herself to write about lynching when 2 of her friends were killed for just trying to open a grocery store and feed people. That's it. So we fought back, we had awareness. Another thing we did, and another thing that accounted for the golden age of lynching coming to a halt, was that many Black people down south, they got on trains, they got in cars, and they moved north and they moved west. So you'll find a lot of Black people, for instance, up 55 in Chicago, in Mississippi. They got Mississippi roots because they came straight from Mississippi. That's where I'm from. You might find a lot of people from Louisiana in California because they took I-10 and they went west to get away from it. So you found Black people leaving. But what happened? What was the most effective? What happened when Black people refused to leave or when they were already aware? Is they defended themselves. And lynching went down when Black people armed themselves and defended against the violence that was being enacted on their communities. So when we think about what happened with Trey, when we think about where this nation is now, the big thing to think about is the things that are being done to stoke racial hatred in this current political environment. And it's not talking about race. There's a difference between racism and saying something racial. Me telling you the truth of what happened isn't racism. It's calling out what happened when white terrorism happened in our communities. But things that are racist, lying about races, stoking things that carry that division, that's one thing that led to a lot of the violence that we're seeing today and that happened in history. So thank you. Thank you for watching these videos. If you've got questions, please ask. And if you want to learn the history of something else that's going on in the news or society, leave me a comment and I'll let you know about it. Thank you and take care.